Present.
Vice Mayor Parsons.
Present.
Commissioner Vasquez. Here. Commissioner Lennerbrook.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation.
Good evening. Before I pray, I want to make an official invitation on behalf of the Liberal Ministerial Alliance and the church that I pastor, Faith Tabernacle, and Chuck Scroggs at Central Christian. We're going to be showing a movie in Light Park as a part of the Food Truck Saturday this Saturday. And it will be a free movie. And with all the food trucks there, what a great time to have a movie right there in the big pavilion. The screen's 25 foot wide, 15 foot tall. It'll be in high definition, really good picture, good opportunity. So I want to invite all of you, the commissioners and all of you who work for the city and everyone here as a part of this meeting to come out. And what's kind of humorous about an outdoor movie is people quite often ask you, well, what time does it start? And you say, well, right around dark is when we'll start. So that's the time, and we encourage you to come out. Well, let's pray. Thank you. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to be alive and to be here at this time, at this meeting. Bless all of our commissioners. Thank you for them, their families. Bless them with good health. And Lord, bless this meeting tonight. We just pray it'll be a good, constructive meeting and help our city, help all of our city employees and workers, those maybe making presentations tonight, help them as well. And we're just thankful for this city of Liberal, Kansas, a great place to be and to live. And we ask your blessings upon this community. I ask you to wisdom of Solomon, the courage of David, the patience of Job, and most importantly, the love of Christ in their hearts as they make decisions and do the things that they do in this meeting here tonight. May we feel the warmth and presence of your Holy Spirit here in this meeting. In Christ's name we pray. Amen and amen. Thank you very much.
Item number 1, awards, proclamations, and presentations. Seeing none, moving on to item number 2, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion we approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Lennerbrook. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 3, the minutes.
Make a motion we approve the July 11th, 2023 regular meeting minutes as printed.
Second. Have a motion by Commissioner Lennerbrook and a second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 4, items from citizens. Any items from citizens?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners and citizens and those that are listening. My name is Persephone Fuller. I reside at 708 South Washington Avenue, and I'm here to stand to say to thank you to Mr. Beer and his team for, we had some challenges with Walnut and Washington, and people were just running through the stop signs, and we have children and we have elderly walking their dogs or just taking their morning walk for exercise. And so they were able to immediately almost put some flashing stop signs out there. So I was very grateful, and I want to say thank you for your team doing that. In addition, of course, of all the rain, we have a migration of mosquitoes, and they sprayed once and they came back and sprayed again. So I want to thank you as a citizen of that district, County Commissioner in District 2, but I live in the city. I just want to say thank you for that, and continue to be safe and keep your team safe. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other items from citizens? Seeing none, we'll move on to items from groups.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Al Shank, here representing Al Shank Insurance and Employers Mutual Casualty, your insurance carrier this evening. As you know, you're a member of Employers Mutual Kansas Safety Group, which encompasses several hundred cities across the state of Kansas. As such, when that group has a good loss year, you're of that group. And although dividends can never be guaranteed, you've had presenting dividends. In fact, the City of Liberal has earned a dividend. Your total dividend that you've received over the last 17 years is a little under $1.3 million. Last year, you received a check as a member of the group of a little over $111,000. This year, the check I'm delivering tonight is for $131,854.07. So probably the largest dividend that the City of Liberal has received, and I believe probably the largest dividend that the Employer Safety Group gives out of any of the cities within its group. So I'm April when I'm telling you what the premium is, but you know, in June you seem to like me pretty well. So Mr. Mayor, the question is, where does this go? Do I ceremoniously give it to you or to the city manager, or do I give it to the guy I know it's going to end up with? Do I give it to Chris? What's your pleasure?
Keep going down.
Keep
Keep going down.
We're gonna go ahead and give it to Scarlett.
Yeah.
A new
our finance
recipient.
director.
Okay. But congratulations, that's well chosen on your part and part of a group of cities in the state. It's witnessed by what you get tonight from.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you. I'll just throw a pitch. It happened because you have an insurance agent as your mayor this year. That has to be it. Please.
Commissioners, my name is Damian Denmark. I'm the Director of Business Development for the Seward County Development Corporation. I have two things today. One is a retail strategies update, and the second is a request for food truck strategies, which is a firm the city hired to recruit retail. So today on the report I received from Retail Strategies is going over expanding the Liberal. So as of today, we have one franchisee approved for a fast food restaurant. He is waiting to finish out a land transfer agreement from his other business, and he'll begin the transfer agreement for his new fast food restaurant that's going in Liberal. Second will be that we make contact with another fast food restaurant that is looking to make its way to Southwest Kansas. We went over an incentives packet with them just last week, and we have a follow-up call scheduled with that fast food restaurant retail next week to finalize deals, looking at lands here on the north end of town. The third will be a drink franchise. Destination spot for this franchise. We just hadn't had enough luck with franchisees being able to make their way to the area. We had someone reach out to our office with kind of developed a franchise and franchisee. We've developed a plan, and we are looking at one piece of property here in Liberal, and then if that franchise agrees to that property, they'll move forward with an offer. The next, we are looking at our retail side. So at this time, I won't release that name, but we have had conversations with 3 different retailers looking to move into Liberal to be a part of a project that is going on. We are waiting to hear back from their real estate development leads for the companies to finalize some paperwork before an LOI is put into place again for those to join that project. Lastly, Retail Strategies funneled over a contact for our home improvement store 2 weeks ago. I was able to make contact with that home improvement store, and we have a Zoom call set up in 2 weeks to go over a few properties here in Liberal to discuss the possibility of moving that location to Liberal, Kansas. Liberal's next destination spot. Any questions regarding the Retail Strategies update?
Good news.
Working hard at it.
Thank you for what you guys are doing.
Appreciate it. The second request is in May for Food Truck Saturdays. For Food Truck Saturdays. In that request, I failed to mention on my end the request of utilizing the Girl Scouts building. The building not to reserve for an event, but to reserve to store our bottles of water, off spray, where volunteers can go in and sit down and relax. We're not wanting vendors to leave if they run out of food. We're wanting them to stay so we don't have to release or block off or move people off the trailway, so we can keep people going throughout the entire day. So we're not using it to host anything again. We're just using it as an opportunity again for volunteers to cool off, vendors to stay, and to store our equipment that we use throughout the day. I'm asking for that to be used for July 29th, August 19th, and if weather permitting, that we use the park September 30th, that we're asking to use that for that day as well.
Have we checked availability on those days?
Yes, so they are available. We made note of that when I requested for those days in May, and then I verified again this week with the rec department.
So I know we've talked about fee schedule for that building. I know it's not 100% resolved yet, but I know we've got a on a price. I think we gotta stick to that. I know that hurts Damien where he lives, but right in the pocketbook.
Well, on this one, I'll make a motion to waive the fee for that location
For those 3 days?
for the 3 days, which are July 29th
August 19th
Oh,
and
sorry.
September 30th.
and August 19th and September 30th.
So, are you doing the next 3 food truck days at Light Park?
So July 29th and August 19th are scheduled at Light Park. September 30th is at Fellowship Baptist Church, but if it's too hot, we're gonna move it to Light Park. That's why initially when we requested Light Park for all 4 of those dates, that was the reason as to why. If it's too hot for Main Street, or if it's too hot for Fellowship Baptist Church, we're moving it to Light Park.
And if it's at Fellowship Baptist, you won't need the Girl Scout building? Or
Correct.
Okay, because they, I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Lara and a second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number, are there any other items from groups? Agenda.
You like a
I'll
motion?
make-
Oh, go ahead.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Motion passes. And moving on to item number 7, the city employee health insurance.
All right, so Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, it's that time of year. This year, IMA, who we retained last year to be our broker, went to market and brought you 2 separate companies to consider. This is where Pastor Petty was talking about the wisdom of Solomon and the courage of David, so I'm gonna let her get going.
Yeah, also prayers for the presenter, I thought I heard in there as well, so. All right, well, good evening, Commissioners. It's nice to see you all again. As Rusty mentioned, for renewal this year, we are bringing you 2 options. In the packet you have in front of you, I have the first page is just an executive overall summary. So the initial renewal action by Blue Cross Blue Shield was a 3% increase. The increase to the $955. One of the engaged is that the deductibles right now are a calendar year accumulator, so starts January 1, goes through line with the plan year start date, so 9/1 through August 31st. We did request that option from Blue Cross Blue Shield. They are giving and so that was a decrease or an increase of 4.3%. 185. We did go out to market and did receive some competitive marketing and provided that back to Blue Cross. With that, then they provided back the deductible accumulator option at an increase of 3% or the same $85,900 release. We did look at self-funded options through Blue Cross. Those were not budget friendly for this year, for sure. And so the fully insured market also declined to quote. And so we have called Gravy. It is a level funded. Next couple of pages. Other lines of coverage, dental was an overall increase of $4,756. At the request of the city, we also got as well. So any questions on the executive renewal? Great. Of medical options to include did request from Blue Cross. The maximum budgets where we would recommend that the city fund were just a pretty large increase based on where you're at with your fully insured plan today. And so really just asking you to recommend and consider tonight is from a third-party administrator called Gravy. Change for the increase of $149,990 used at the city's discretion. So there is option. Any questions on just the overall financials?
So one adds 89,000, the other saves 160.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so getting into the plan design, because it is a very unique plan. Under the Blue Cross Gravy utilizes the Aetna network. It is the same network used locally by National Beef, so the would be under the same provider network. There would be 2 plan design options to choose from, similar to today. The first is what's called Gravy Comfort, and it's very unique to the marketplace. There would be a $0 deductible and only an out-of-pocket maximum. So right now, today, your out-of-pocket maximum with Blue Cross Blue Shield is $5,000. That would remain the same under the Gravy Comfort plan. The deductibles would go away. Really, it's thinking about simplifying the way that the health plan works. The out-of-pocket maximum is the one bucket that every out-of-pocket dollar goes to, and so that's the way they're thinking about it. In addition to simplifying the out-of-pocket, there are no costs under this plan for employees for PCP, primary care visits, specialist visits, urgent care, and any mental health therapy visits. The ER would be a straight copay of $250. For diagnostic lab and x-rays, currently today there's a rider where the plan pays 100% up to $300. In an office setting, there would be no cost for labs and x-rays under this plan. If a PCP orders a lab or x-ray, it would be no cost as well, even if it is done in a hospital setting. Just need to be made sure it was billed correctly. One of the nice things about Gravy is they have a concierge customer service approach, and so when things come up like billing issues, that's something that the Gravy care team can help mitigate and make sure we get solutions for that. But in the hospital setting, as long as it's ordered by a PCP, it is covered. The hospital out-of-pocket maximum would be if somebody's in an inpatient setting or an outpatient surgery setting and they have a lab or x-ray done there. So not as because your doctor said you should go have this lab or x-ray done. Inpatient and outpatient surgeries and those out-of-pocket maximum, so that would be the $5,000 range. There would be no cost for generic medications, a $75 for specialty medications. The point of this plan is to help guide employees to the lowest cost of care for services that are being provided. That $5,000 seems like a really large jump at first glance when you're just looking at it. There are a couple ways that that can be mitigated. One, the city does offer a flexible spending account. Flexible spending account 2023 limits are $3,050. In addition to that, value add called Gravy Pay. It is with a company called Patient. It's just their back room. Allows for no cost interest loans to be provided to employees. The point of service, and then they would work with Gravy Pay to determine a payback amount. That is not a liability that the city would hold. If an employee leaves while they have an outstanding loan on the table, then that goes with them and Gravy Pay works with them to collect on that. But that helps protect financially for the things that do come up, kind of those two combined together. So that's the Gravy side. We've maintained the $1,500 deductible. The out-of-pocket maximum has come down to $4,000 instead of the $5,000 today. The coinsurance maximum that is built into the plan, which I believe is $1,000, does go away after $1,500 to the maximum out-of-pocket of $4,000. PCP visit under the urgent care would be $50. Gravy's typical is $75, so that was something we negotiated down in this plan design because we know of access and we wanted to make sure we didn't make it unfavorable to access urgent care in the area. The ER copay is actually $500. That is something I missed when I updated this packet, so but again, on the traditional plan, trying to steer to the lowest cost. So $50 for urgent care, it would be a $500 ER copay there. Labs and x-rays would be subject to deductible and coinsurance. Hospital and outpatient facility cost does remain the same. The prescription tiers would be a no cost for generic medications, a $30 brand copay, $100 non-preferred brand copay, and $250 for specialty. I have done some, so IMA works with several municipalities across the state, and just to kind of give you an idea of the numbers of municipalities with Blue Cross and those who are not, there's about 33 total municipalities we work with. 58% or 19 of those are with Blue Cross today. or 42% of those have moved from Blue Cross, some of those within the last couple of years. So this is a conversation happening with several groups across the state in terms of looking at options different from Blue Cross. Any questions? I went through that kind of fast, but any questions on the plan design option?
I had a question on the Gravy Comfort, on the diagnostic lab, X-ray, and advanced imaging.
Yes.
Could you explain that pricing again? What do you mean by like office setting? No
So,
cost?
doctor's office sends you down the hallway to get labs done, or they have an X-ray machine in the provider's office. That would be no cost. Or your doctor says, I would like you to go down to the hospital and get this MRI done. That would be no cost. If somebody's at an inpatient surgery and they need to do some imaging to kind of
So if they were in the hospital, hospitalized, or they went through the ER, it
Yes.
would basically be out of pocket.
That's correct. Any other questions? Okay. On page,
Hold on, do you wanna go now, or you wanna wait?
I don't care, I do.
Okay.
hit me with them.
So Mr. Beer has some staff questions that he's gonna ask me, but
So, question, so if an employee right now has something scheduled in October, so that's gone bye-bye, he's gonna have to redo that whole,
No. It's great, the Gravy Care team can talk to those individuals, or if there's any information that we can get from Blue Cross on that pre-approval, then Gravy is more than happy to accept pre-approvals that have already been approved, to allow that surgery to happen.
so, and this might be a minute chance, but what if the
Let me ask Gravy how they would handle that. That
We had this debacle with the deductibles last year,
yes,
so now, if they go with this, deductible's gonna start over in September, so the people who paid the 3 months last year with that deal, and then this year, they're gonna get 8 months of deductible, and now it's gonna start all over again.
that is correct. Yes.
So basically, what they paid this year is,
Yep. If it's renewed with Blue Cross, they do get credit for that. If we do move to Gravy, then those deductibles unfortunately will start over.
I guess, and one of my questions is, 0 deductible, 0 copay, when's my $5,000 start? When do I start paying on that?
Yeah, if you having an inpatient stay, I mean, those are really kind of the big, what they go toward the out-of-pocket maximum, or if you're having an advanced imaging. They're really trying to push individuals to that lowest cost that we have placed with Gravy today, and I was actually with our groups, we're seeing some lower claims, or people are starting to take care of things that they might have put off because they didn't feel like they had access, they didn't have the money to pay to have the access of care. This is just normal everyday care.
So on the one deal you were talking about, if I go to my primary doctor and he sends me to,
That is covered, yep. The hospital needs to make sure they code it as a PCP ordered.
I just know, if we go to this, tomorrow HR is gonna get 5,000 questions from. What the heck is going on?
Absolutely. So Gravy can do implementation really quickly. Once we get the application filled out from the city, get that back to Gravy, and they start working on the setup, we can have the Gravy Care team ready to go. In fact, if it is approved tonight, I will go back and ask them to have the Gravy Care team ready to go when open enrollment starts next and be a resource.
Want it all laid out there so there's no surprises down the road.
Yep.
And Keely gave me some very good insight. I think her number was like 85.
Yes. Yeah, you guys have a very high generic utilization, so that would be a big, there'd be a lot of individuals who would have free drugs. Prescription drugs, I should say.
That's all I have.
To add on to some additional value adds with Gravy, I've mentioned Gravy Pay, I've mentioned their Sword is a virtual physical therapy. The stuff they need to perform physical therapy in their home, they don't necessarily have to go to a vendor, so that's a nice benefit. They partner with Teladoc for and general health, and then Fit On and Pure Fit are just a fitness, there's videos and all sorts of stuff on there. Any additional questions on Gravy?
How many other groups or cities or different entities are using Gravy now?
Yes. Or has implemented, their plan starts 10/1. We have more private business as a vertical in K-12. Across the country, they work with several municipality type of districts, but you would be, I guess, many of the private sector groups we have implemented Gravy with are in rural Kansas, northwest Kansas specifically.
So Angelica spoke to the school district, the lady, I believe it was a female that does their insurance, and they gave it pretty high marks as far as workability and the Gravy comfort or care team is willing, responsiveness. So it got a good grade from the school district that they gave us. Respond.
Yeah, that was the other broker didn't want to give out the contact information, but I was trying as far as yesterday to get that for you all. I do know Stafford Schools and Abilene School District here in Kansas are also using the Gravy plan. Abilene has had the plan for 2 years. And why it's more heavily been in schools is American Fidelity had a partnership with Gravy, and so there was a little bit more emphasis there when they first came into the market.
So how does the provider network compare with Blue Cross?
Yes, so when we have looked at that, it was hard to look specifically at maybe which providers city employees are using just because of the lack of data we have from Blue Cross. But I have other municipalities here in Southwest Kansas who are using the Aetna network very well. And again, National Beef utilizes the exact same Aetna network, and so with 4,000 employees here, there's most certainly coverage, particularly the big things, right, like hospitals and those types of things. One that when I have done disruptions in this area, Dr. Dora, is it Dora Davis? That she tends to fall out of Aetna and UHC's network when I have looked, and like some up. But if there are gaps, and the Gravy Care team can help search providers, if there are gaps, then we can work with them to have their provider assistants reach out to try to get them to go into the network.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. On page 5, I have included a contribution illustration using Gravy, or using the Gravy rates. Page 6 does also show you a Blue Cross illustration as well. Under the comfort plan would become the buy-up plan, similar to the $500 deductible today. That would have, at the request of the city, we have looked at increasing the employee spend on that to make it a true base buy-up option. And you can see on the very far right what the increase to employees would be under this illustration. The traditional plan, the employee only would just go up slightly, but there would be some relief to employees on the employee plus tier, so employee, spouse, child, and family. With the way this illustration is laid out, the city of Liberal would save $140,726. And then there would be a decrease to the employee overall spend, most of that being felt in that $1,564.
So with those percentage estimates and budget reasons, we don't allow spouses on the insurance if they can get in. The hiring benefit, I would like us to relook that policy. He would pay a lot. It is really cheap, but for a lot of the folks out there whose spouse, I mean, family plan to everybody could be the difference between whether they work at the college or the city or the county or the city, et cetera. So we have more flexibility with this to utilize that savings to increase recruitment.
Any questions on this, or would you like a few more minutes to review?
So it looks like regardless which renewal we go at, we are increasing the employee spend.
Yes, based on the percentages that we talked with administration. Might be some increases on the employee would be paying out of pocket just by virtue of how the plan functions. The increases on the Gravy side are much more modest compared to the increases on the Blue Cross plan. Just one more note, under the Blue Cross plan with this illustration, the city would see an increase on medical of $54,119. Employees would see sharing the rest of that of $31,836.
So with Gravy, the employees save $9,000. With Blue Cross, they pay an additional $32,000.
Yep. Collectively,
Yes.
there's some give and take in there.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the contributions? Before I move on to the other lines of coverage? Or anything related to medical?
So the Gravy Comfort traditional.
So there's kind of two plans. One is comfort, one is traditional. So
Right.
option one would be comfort, option two would be traditional. There are no other questions, then moving on to the ancillary lines of coverage. I already mentioned dental in my opening executive summary. That is a 3.1% increase, 4,756. We do recommend renewing dental with Blue Cross regardless of what decision you make on the medical. For vision, especially and exam are all built into the Blue Cross plan. So with going to Gravy and at least looking at it seriously, we did get options from VSP. All the other municipalities. The one provider who we really find falling out is Specs. And that's because they don't have an optometrist on site, and VSP only partners with local or retail that have an optometrist on site. So that is why they are not in network. We looked at employer paid and contributory options. After talking with city administration, they decided on an employer paid option. Vision plan, the allowances match the Blue Cross rider today. So that is $100 for frames, $150 for contacts, and both of those available every 12 months. There would be a $10 exam copay, a $25 materials copay. The total cost to the city for the first year would be $32,901. These rates are guaranteed for 2 years, so the total investment for the 2 years is $65,000. And we would recommend moving to the VSP option. Lastly, we have the life insurance renewal through Advance. It is a 4% increase. The total increase is $778, and we recommend renewing the Advance renewal. Page 8 does provide dental and vision contributions. We have left the employee. It's a 50-50 split. Some funky rounding on that employee only, but that is about $1 increase there as well. And then vision would be completely employer paid, so the employees would not have to pay for that benefit. Okay, and on the last page, I did put together a total cost summary. Option one for your consideration is with Gravy, utilizing the comfort and traditional Blue Cross Blue Shield. Total savings with just those 3 lines, $330. A decrease of $103,552. That is not including the implementation. And then on option 2 with Blue Cross, the annual change to the city would be $91,294 for an increase. And the last page just shows my recommended renewal actions. So moving to the Gravy and Aetna network with the as presented, and then renewing the life and dental policies with Blue Cross and Advance, and then adding the comprehensive
anything. Keely, I'm looking. So I was probably looking at this. The recommendation that we would get scared of looking down at the card and not seeing Blue Cross Blue Shield. So work. The FSA, which gives employees a kind of a safety net up front. I don't know how many people take advantage. So honestly, the only thing to keep me from recommending Gravy to you is change. I think that we can better serve the employees by the switch. I think that we have enough money on hand. We got enough money on hand in the employee benefits account to absorb either. If you want to stay with Blue Cross, we can absorb it this year. It's not a big deal. If you want to make the switch and take the savings, then that enables us to increase and spend. It's just going to get spent with probably a better health plan and a higher salary increase than what they would get if we stay with Blue Cross. That is, I concur with IMA on their recommendation.
What's important to me, I think, is what's best, what the employees want, and what's best for them, because we already know that we have trouble competing on wages with employers in town and that type of thing, and I've always thought the advantage of working for the city or the county or the schools is the benefits, and they've always had good benefits, and for having any benefits, really myself, being self-employed, don't know a lot about it, but it's really important to me what our employees think is the best option for them, so I know you've told me what you think. I don't know if there's anybody else in here that's stayed up 30 hours and looked at it. Did Brad or Alicia or Chris, anybody look at it for 30 hours and say, do you guys have an opinion, or?
I got an opinion, but the thing that worries me is, like, I'm just gonna use this example. I have a granddaughter that's been going to the same orthopedic person now, and I would hate for this to go, no, we're done here, and now we gotta go find a new one. I wish I knew who the providers were and what. I mean, I don't know, it's a tough decision, I don't know.
At this point, if we made that switch, how much time would we have to educate the employees about the switch?
I mean, essentially, so you renew 9/1, which is just a little over 30 days. So our team would be immediately, we already have education put together. We have the provider link. I believe, did we already provide the provider link? I thought maybe we did. We can get that to you like tomorrow, and that can be sent out to employees for them to search. As I mentioned, we can request to have the Gravy Care team available, and then whatever request you need as you're getting ready for open enrollment and even kind of beyond, we can make sure that is, we have everything that Angelica and the city needs to educate.
So when I was at the last plan from the grandfathered one, and it negatively affected 10%, but it greatly helped 90%. And that 10% is still hard, and that's kind of what I would anticipate here, is there's about 5 to 10% of the employees who we have 190 something people on our plan. You know, if we can help 170, and then with the gravy pay options, and then some other things that we can do internally, I think we can offset financially, at least. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. If you've been going to the doctor for 30 years and that doctor doesn't take the insurance, I mean, there's nothing the city can do about that. But
And what you were saying there, I think there is a benefit that the gravy pay is something that with Blue Cross Blue Shield, when you end up on that visit and have to pay that $5,000 or whatever it is, it's you, right?
yeah.
And this gives you the option, they help you get through that. So to me, that's a benefit, but my question is, I know you're kind of wanting us to decide this tonight, but if we, or I think you are, but without the list of providers to the employees, I think would that be an important issue for before we decide?
I personally would like to get a little bit more feedback from the employees. A little bit more comfortable just hearing from the employees. Now, I know it's never gonna be 100%, because you're never gonna have everybody agree on it. But 00 PM, just because, I mean, if you're hospitalized, let's say you have to get lab work and x-ray, does that mean that you're gonna be, you know, I mean, that stuff's not very cheap, so does that mean that you could be potentially liable for paying up to 10,000?
So every individual on the plan would have a $5,000 out of pocket. So if you have family coverage, if one individual's in the hospital, $5,000 is that maximum. So if you had two members of the family that ended up getting hospitalized, yes, they could potentially pay up to the 10,000, but it would be based on an individual, for the most part.
But it does mean the 5,000 when you go to the hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, just with the car accidents we have with clients, the most minor get to 8,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think I like what I see, but I feel like I'm not making this decision for me. I'm, like when we make other decisions for the public who elect us to make decisions, I feel like this one we're making for the employees, so. Yeah,
When we talked about it yesterday, if you'd asked me yesterday morning, I would have said, let's stay with Blue Cross because it's safe. But even with some of the stuff I heard today, it just, to me, it's a pretty obvious choice that,
I think there's some good things there.
I will add from a timeline perspective, we've already pushed back open enrollment once, and it is scheduled for Tuesday the 1st. So we will need a decision tonight, so that, I mean, we have, like I mentioned, about a little over 30 days to get everything renewed and open enrollment done and completed. So I just want to throw that timeline out there for y'all's consideration.
No pressure, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, so I do have a question regarding deductibles and out-of-pocket.
Yep.
And as to how that relates with prescription. So you've got someone with a chronic problem who has, needs insulin, because I know, and, you know, test strips and that kind of stuff is
Yep.
very expensive.
Can be.
And, you know, if, I just know my mother-in-law has a brand that she uses that works well for her. She doesn't choose to go with another brand because $50 every time she gets test strips and insulin. Does that count toward?
and what's the health savings? What's the max? Is it 3,500?
30/50.
Okay.
I see we have the county administrator and the county chair here. What do you guys use? I don't know.
They're getting this pitch.
They're getting this pitch right now,
Yeah.
okay. How much time, how many 30-hour nights have you spent thinking about?
We've spent a lot, but we work here, we are, when I speak for
Yeah.
not here.
If you would go up to the microphone so the thing can get you.
We've been through this year after year with IMA for a while now. We have chosen the safe route, as your city manager refers to it, honestly, because there's always been that fear of switching from Blue Cross Blue Shield. We were here to hear the Aetna options that you guys were looking at tonight, because that is something that we have considered. A considerable cost of our insurance is that as well with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Aetna looks like a more viable option to negotiate some of the cost with prescription. Where we're at an advantage over the city is we're on a renewal year of May 1st through April 30th. So we have some time. One thing too that I feel like we've done probably at least for the past 2 years is we've had all staff meetings. We've been trying to gear the employees of, you know, we don't know how long we can sustain this. So we could just be a year away from having to make a change. Something great that IMA does, and I know you guys are new with IMA, but they did a survey with our employees, and then we were able to break that down by gender. We were able to break it down by your age range of employees that we have working for us, to get a better idea of how the employees felt about it. Because we are like you, having to take into consideration, if we continue the benefits, what can we do in wage increases? But I would say that we've been on that educational route a little longer than what you guys have. I mean, you guys are really up against a timeline. I'm surprised you've been able to wait this. Considered, now that we have the school district, the city, the county, and the college with IMA, we were anxious to kind of see what everybody's thinking. Had some discussions at Council of Governments with the hospital too, and they would be interested in some of those conversations as well. So in a sense, you guys are kind of a guinea pig.
Yeah, I had one of the other taxing entity board members tell me, we really liked it, but we want you to go first.
Yeah.
So let me ask this question, the provider problem, and because these end up moving into this, the pressure, you said they'll be able to call around and visit and try to get some of these providers on board. That actually will make it way easier, right? If everybody does it.
If we can demonstrate there are enough covered lives in an area to try to put maybe some leverage on. Now again, that is that provider has a business and they kind of have to manage that side of it as well. So we can only do what we can from our end, reach out to the carriers and their provider relations team and say, can you please reach out to so-and-so provider, see if they can get on your panel, and that's typically about the most that we can do because they have to kind of make that decision for themselves.
And their hesitance is probably the same, having to do something new.
Mm-hmm.
They just, yeah.
I can tell you, I had a meeting this morning with another Southwest Kansas community and had commissioners in the meeting as well, and we were having this exact same discussion. What does it look like if we move Blue Cross? So this is not a unique discussion to other municipalities across the state. I've had 2 groups. I just moved away from Blue Cross July 1st of this year. And have kind of been in that same fact-finding state and recognize that costs are going up and they need a way to try to contain those, and perhaps Blue Cross isn't the partner to help them in that favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I completely agree. The way Blue Cross, they're a good service and they got good networks, but they are big enough, they're not actually looking in how they could save you money. And it's a lot harder to work with them on saying, can you bring in this one provider? Where a lot of other new companies and new TPAs are kind of taking that on. Going first just because of our deadline. I mean, if you guys were more than glad to bring this back maybe in May, get used to it. Know that we would probably, I think that's probably, I'm not sure what everybody else thinks on that. Wait at least another year.
For me, it would be important to get employee feedback to see how they feel about it. Just to do
Unless all the
research.
employees in the room are gonna tell me that they like this one the best, I would feel,
Yeah.
if they want more information, then
Exactly.
I'm educated on this decision from tonight only.
And we'll let the county go first.
Sorry, I'm speaking for that. Have you had good conversations with National Beef? Has there been providers?
Yeah, so I talked to National Beef, and so they have so many different, so they've got the steps up to the executive plan, so it's very difficult to, you know, like our water superintendent's wife is on the plan, and he said, oh, it's terrible, they pay a lot. And then I asked someone else in upper management, they're like, oh, it's fantastic. So national is not a provider issue as much as it is a cost issue for the employees. So if that helps.
And we've established with our plans, it will be cheaper for them employees.
Yeah, and we can rework those percentages, because when we did that, I didn't realize that we hadn't moved that employee benefits account, that 485,000 we have sitting there. So we can up the city contribution and lower the employee contribution this year to offset cost. And it's a one-year agreement, so if it doesn't work, it's not like Blue Cross is gonna tell us no next year.
Right.
We can't come back.
And to April's point, this gives IMA the opportunity to sit down with you, maybe more than just here in the public meeting, to explain some of this stuff and really make sure that you feel comfortable if we are looking at a specific change, and that you have enough background information to make that decision.
Can I, just one comment, I would just like to see how the provider is gonna affect our employees.
Mhm.
I mean, and I know it's 10%, I don't want that 10% to be the ones who leave because they gotta change gastroenterology.
That's a very valid concern, and waiting for a year, as April mentioned, we're to start that analysis now, actually, here in the next couple of weeks, of really deep diving the provider networks here locally and figure out who's on what panel, and that just gives us more information for next year when we look at renewal and can bring that to the table. The good news with renewing with Blue Cross and Blue Shield this year as well is that employees do get that deductible credit. So what they have accumulated in the 8 months of this year's plan will be automatically given to them for the next 12 months of the plan year. So there are some pros to renewing with Blue Cross this year too, above and beyond just the card and the provider network. Employees will see that benefit.
Right. Well, I think we're done with the questions for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to mess with the percentages now, or do you want to leave it like that for the motion?
Well, the percentages don't really matter.
Okay, just the plan,
Yep.
what direction we're
Yeah,
taking?
which company?
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Lindbroker and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? 5-0.
Thank you all.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think I'll just say with this one, looking at the benefits, gravy will definitely be better in the future, because it will allow people to go to the doctor more at less of an expense, and it'll hopefully keep you out of the hospital, which is what that plan seems to be doing. But I think with this vote, it's pretty obvious we want to give staff enough time to absorb that change. So there's that. Moving on to item number 8, federal funds exchange.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, you have before you tonight the Federal Funds Exchange. In a brief explanation, the city is entitled to federal dollars annually for the, I guess, the repair and maintenance of our transportation system. KDOT for several years has administered the Federal Funds Exchange Program. The advantage of going through KDOT is they deal with all of the federal regulations and all of that sort. And in order to participate in the KDOT program, they always do have a reimbursement rate. They keep a 10% for their assistance. This year, we have a balance of $268,452.19 available to us, which at a 90% exchange rate would equal $241,606 KDOT for our use. In the packet, I've submitted the street maintenance that we did last year, some invoices for chip seal and for crack seal. And so tonight, we just request your consideration of this item to approve that amount.
I'll make a motion that we submit the attached federal request in the amount of $241,606.97.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Vasquez and a second by Commissioner Warren. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 9, the Dollar General utility easement.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, before you tonight is a utility agreement selling Dollar General the property off the 300 block of Southwestern. In only selling them a portion of the platted lot, we've kind of landlocked them in, so they need a legal easement to run their water and service lines, water and sewer lines and electric through to get to another legal easement. Dollar General provided the survey for the property. The utility easement agreement in front of you has been approved by our city attorney as well as their attorney. There is a map attached to the back of that. The last page, the box marked on there that says Dollar General location. The green lines would show the platted easement where the utility should run, and the red box would be where they're asking, this easement agreement would give them legal access to go across underneath to put their water service lines and sewer lines in.
Is that what that is? I can.
Yeah, so between where the store is going and the legal easement on the backside of that lot, that's why they didn't buy the entire platted lot, because there is a well site
Yeah.
behind it.
So basically, the new plotted easement is in an unusable space for anybody anyway.
Yeah, it would be used, like, if anybody
Yeah.
that easement would be useful, or the stuff on.
The green easement, I mean, not the red area though. The red area,
Well, the red area will be for Dollar General and Dollar
that's, I
General.
mean, it's not, it's really not usable for anything else anyway.
No, sir.
All right.
I'll make a motion, we approve the utility easement between the City of Liberal and Colby 2022 LLC as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Warren. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 10, the city grant programs.
So just go through all of these and then we can come back and vote on them individually.
Okay, so before you tonight, I've brought the city grant programs that I found out when they were originally started. They came before the commission every year for the commission's approval, and that hasn't been done in a few years. So these are paid out of the 1 cent sales tax and the housing and community development budget. So before you, I brought the 6. They're broken down into 6 grants. Okay. Number 1, which is number A, is going to be the new construction housing incentive. This has combined the single-family housing incentive and the multifamily housing incentive, which used to be handled through economic development. We've put it together as one application, one thing. For years, single-family paid $5,000 per new build of a single-family residence. We have upped that amount because it's been the same for years to where, let's say Ronnie goes out and builds a brand new house. Multifamily, which in the past paid $3,000 per unit. So you build a four apartment complex, it would pay, you know, $12,000. We've upped that to $5,000 per unit. The only other change to this is under the single family, I did include that a mobile home does qualify, provided that you meet two things. They have to pull a permit and demolish a mobile home more than 20 years old. It has to go in the trash, can't be moved out of town, it has to be demolished. And then you replace it with a mobile home less than 5 years old on the same location. I figured that might help. If we could include this in the single family incentive, it might help incentivize to clean up some of our mobile home parks around town. So those are the changes for that one under A. B is the home repair program, formerly called the Senior Citizens Program, Senior Citizen Program. It allowed senior citizens to come in and get up to a $2,000 grant for exterior enhancement of their property, for emergency repair of their home, for weatherization of their home. We've modified it a little bit and changed it to just the home repair program. We did up the amount from $2,000 to $3,000, and we included a very low income option. So not just senior citizens qualify. There's requirements for senior citizens. They have to be 60 or older. They have to have a combined household income not to exceed 125% of the median income. They have to own and reside in the property, and the property taxes have to be up to date. And then another qualifying is just a very low income, where combined household income does not exceed 50% of the median income. They have to own and reside in the property, and the property taxes have to be up to date. So we just included a low income option to try and help people fix their properties, beautify the city a little bit, help people out with some of the sales tax. Number C, the first-time homebuyer grant. This allows anybody who has never purchased a home in the past, I believe it's 3 years, to come in. We upped the amount a little bit from $2,500 to $3,000, and that program is staying the same as it's worked for years, other than that small increase. Number D, the Paint the Town program has run for years. We haven't made any changes to this program. It allows a homeowner to come in and apply and get a $350 paint voucher for supplies and paint.
We're all painting our house tomorrow.
$350. But they have to paint the entire exterior of the home, and we get before and after pictures to make sure that's what the money goes for. It helps to beautify the city. Number E, the Safe at Home program. We've done this grant for years. Liberal citizens, carbon monoxide detectors for their residences, just to make, the community a little more safe, because it's not always been in the code that a requirement was to have smoke detectors, and in this day and time, houses go up pretty quick. That one has stayed the same. And then finally, number F, 10F under that is the water system improvement waiver fee, which simply, when we made improvements to the water system, we assess those on to the citizens. This allows senior citizens to get a waiver, which it's like $6.25 a month off their water bill, just to help the senior citizens out a little bit. But that is the 6 programs, and staff would ask for approval. Any questions?
Can I ask a question on the new construction housing incentive, is that something that was requested by contractors, or is that just something you guys
That has run for several years.
No, I mean, the increase.
Increase, economic development was the first person to ask me to up it. Seward County Economic Development said, look, it's been at this rate for several years, and all the prices of everything have gone up. We should probably increase it a little bit. I have had some developers ask for an increase in it.
My only question on that is, and Erica, this may be her question or whatever, but, so we have the RHID that these builders are able to do. And I know we're looking in the future, or you guys are looking in the future at looking at doing some of that differently with some developments, but it still involves the builder, and they're getting, money back on the RHID, but they're getting RHID and then a housing incentive both, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, they can apply for the RHID, but the increase is also for the, now that Marvin is gonna be, you know, developing some property and other people are gonna be developing some property, the ones that are getting the houses built are able to apply for that to make it easier also on the cost of building that new house. So I mean, they can develop the property and a homeowner can purchase the property and build a house and then get that incentive.
So the incentive goes to the builder or to the
It
home
can
buyer?
be, if it's a specular home, it can be, it can be.
It's to the builder. If it's a,
Yeah,
if
and
if it's a custom house, it goes to the owner.
Yeah, to the owner that's.
Applies for that,
that's
whoever
getting
whoever
funds to
the
build.
property owner is then, basically, because on a spec house, the builder would own the property
Yes.
and, but just from 11, and never got the RHID. I missed the best part of the incentives, which would be the RHID, which is a spectacular incentive for people to build houses, I think. I mean, there's way more in money involved in that back to the builder than ever in this incentive, or to be honest with you, the profit in building the house. I always felt like the incentive didn't make the difference whether I was building the house or not. To me, that's the whole idea of the incentive is to incentivize the builder to build the house. And to me, there's not enough money for you to take a risk on a $300,000 house in the $5,000 or the $7,500, but with the RHID, there is. And that's just from my point of view. So I question the increase amount, if that's, because basically that's coming out of the 1%, the housing part of the 1 cent sales tax then. And that pot of money, which the best program in there for home buyers has been that $500 to $3,000 that continually gets used year after year and gets used up, right? Has been one of our best programs, I think.
The first time home buyer thing?
Yeah, first time home buyer thing is by
But
far.
also because of, there isn't very many houses to buy right
Yeah.
now. There has been people that have came and asked, hey, I wanna buy a house, but there isn't any houses available.
Right.
I mean, if they could come in and say, we can get you, if you can get a loan, then you
Yeah.
can, they have this incentive to build a house, and they can also apply as a first-time home buyer. And the cost of building a house right now is, it's pretty high.
It's high, yeah.
And I would say that, so the builder incentive for single family was utilized 3 times in 2018, 4 times in 2019, 6 times, 7 times, and then 12 times last year. And of those 12, I know a few of those were like not developers. They were like a contractor who built a house or a homeowner
Right,
who had
a
a
few
house
of them.
built.
Same when we did
So-
South, the person that was getting the loan to build the house was the one getting the incentive to help with the cost.
Yeah. But this commission here is looking to the future. And are you ready for in 2 years for there to be 30 incentives at $7,500?
Well, it goes, it's a budgeted item.
Right.
And so.
So when you run out of money, you're out of money.
You're out of money
Yeah.
unless we come ask for more and the commission would approve
Yeah.
that.
So it's first come, first served.
Yes, sir.
So we still put a budget limit and so it's not necessarily there if we hit the numbers that we want to hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get my house built first so I can get in, so then it does incentivize the building of a house. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got their limits set here. For the single family, it's 175,000 a year, and the multifamily housing at 500,000 a year.
Yeah.
So I think those are our budgets for now. Be nice if we could meet some of those, though.
Well, that was gonna be my other comment. So I know they're really good programs, but there's still people in our community who aren't aware of all of these programs that are available. So it'd be nice, I know you've been on the radio before.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if I could recommend, for you guys to maybe do an interview with La Mexicana in case, if you just talking, with all the media, of course, in town, but basically just. Or Jose. But just putting that information out there in our community about all of these programs that are available. I think that would be nice.
So let me ask Lynn a question for me. I don't ever intend to be in the position to be somebody that gets an incentive indirectly or directly on a house, whether some company I work for is involved in building a house, there would be another person involved. So am I allowed to vote or not allowed to vote?
You're talking about no potential conflict, I think you're fine to vote.
Yeah, on this one, I really just don't, I'm not gonna start building houses again. Unless, like I say, it would be in a process where I would not benefit directly from this.
The ones that they're asking to change, probably just for Felicia to keep track of would be best. I think what Keith said is E doesn't need to be changed, that's remaining the same, but for the other items, address each one individually, make a motion. If you guys want to increase and agree with the amount that he stated.
Well, I would like, they used to approve every grant program once a year. So I think we'd like a vote
You want them to
yes
approve the other
on
ones,
all
well, they're
six.
staying the same?
Even staying the same, that we want to continue doing that one. They're still good continuing doing that grant.
The other thing that the commission should consider is anticipates bringing in about $525,000 of income per year. That's at a conservative $3.5 million for 15%. So one thing that would enable us to do these programs, we do have some previous carryover funds, from prior years, but just something to consider when we're looking at these.
And we're really looking at like a 4.25 at least now.
So we have 1.7 million in that fund, and it's just sitting there.
I'm talking about,
Right, but
total, you said it's all budgeted at 3.5, and in reality,
It's
we've
more
been
than that.
bringing in about 4.2 or higher, right?
It's higher.
Last year was 4.9, and this year we're on track to beat last year.
Yeah.
So, a 5.
So we've always
Potential.
been conservative with that budget anyway.
So out of the 20-plus years I've been here, we've barely made our budget 2 of those years. But, traditionally now, things are coming in higher, and that's just something to consider. We do have carryover funds, but once those are gone, they're gone.
So Lynn, are you saying if somebody's willing to make a motion to blanket approve all the grant programs, they could do that, but if they wanted to exclude one, we need to do them individually?
I think you should do it for simplicity's sake, approve each grant program.
Okay.
Because we're changing, if we were just staying the same, then maybe you could make a motion to approve the grant programs that was previously submitted in 2022, but since we're changing things to the grants, better to specifically address each change you're making.
I'll
make a motion, you want these individually, Keith, right?
Lynn does.
I do, sorry.
Lynn.
Lynn does.
The meeting hasn't been long enough.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, we approve the new construction housing incentive program as presented.
Second. A motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Lindenbroker. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0, motion passes.
I can just go down the list. I program as presented.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0, motion passes.
I make a motion, we approve the first time.
Second.
Have a motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? 5-0, motion passes.
I make a motion, we approve the Paint the Town program as presented.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Vasquez. Any further discussion?
At $350 per house.
At $350 per house. All in favor? 5-0, motion passes.
I make a motion, we approve the Safe at Home program as presented.
Second.
A motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Lindenbroker. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0, motion passes.
I make a motion, we approve the Water System Improvement Fee Waiver Program as presented.
Second.
A motion by Vice Mayor Parsons and a second by Commissioner Lindenbroker. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0, motion passes.
We appreciate you guys' work on this.
Yeah. Moving on to item number 11, city staff.
The only thing I got is we're continuing to spray for mosquitoes, and we'll continue and hit the park so people that come to town for the food truck and the movie and stuff won't get picked up and carried away. But we are continuing to spray for mosquitoes.
Okay, sorry.
Any other city staff? Seeing none. Item number 12, city manager report.
The only thing is, we have our leadership training tomorrow, 8:30 to 11:30 here. You guys are invited. National Beef is sending people, county is sending people. Damon Parker is a speaker. He usually does like 1 hour keynote speeches at events, but he's gonna customize he's got 3 different talks, and he's gonna customize it to put that in tomorrow. So all of our supervisors and above will be here, and then lunch will be served, and everybody will be back to work by 1 o'clock or so. You're welcome to drop in or come for the whole thing.
Okay. Item number 13, items from commissioners.
Well, I guess if we've made it take long enough tonight, I guess I'll take a break. I appreciate everybody's work on the items, the insurance thing, and the staff on the grant programs are really, there are some good programs that we do have, and it's nice to see that improve that help people that may need help. That just, I guess, just keep on doing.
I'll pass.
I just have a question. I've had families reach out to me in regards to maybe getting like some fans, some of, if any of you guys are aware of any of the organizations that help with that, like window fans or anything like that.
We can have Karen look through the programs and see if there's something.
Just want to thank the staff for all your hard work. It is noticed and it's appreciated. That's all.
Want to say roughly the same thing. Thank you to all the staff for all you do, all the programs you continue to support, getting us information. And then I also want to say with the grant programs, we have Monday with the mayors with the newspaper. I have Monday with the mayor with La Mexicana, so I'll go ahead and take these out and try and get some of that information out there as well. See what we can do about that. But thank you all.
One last thing. So Keely Maury came on last Monday. She is the Director of Public Affairs. I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce her. We usually make everybody come up to the front and be all weird, but I forgot about this today.
We'll make it easy for you this time.
Is that if we do something stupid, she explains it, or what?
Basically, she puts it in pretty words.
If any of us, probably just about any of us in this room does anything bad, it's her job to fix it. All right, moving on to item number 14, staff comments. This got added in there.
No, that's supposed to have been deleted.
Okay, so,
That's a duplicate.
seeing none, item number 15, the vouchers.
Make a motion to approve the voucher for the amount of $1,178,691.59.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lidenbroker and a second by Commissioner Warren. Sorry, my V and my W messed up. Any further discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Motion passes. We are adjourned.